Chapter 3, Running Away. As Oliver crouched in the cellar, Mr. Bumble was nailing an advertisement to the workhouse door. The next day, Mr. Bumble dragged Oliver from the cellar. "There are 2 men coming to see you," he said, "so make sure you behave." Oliver watched as the first man pulled up outside the door in a donkey cart laden with soot. "Whoa!" he shouted, hitting the donkey on the head with a great thump from his whip. "Mr. Gamefield," said Mr. Bumble, stepping out to greet him. Mr. Gamefield stared at Oliver. "He's a very small boy, but I need an apprentice to climb chimneys and sweep out soot. Some of the chimneys are narrow and twisting. This brat will fit nicely." "I won't go with him, I won't," cried Oliver. "Don't be so insolent," said Mr. Bumble. "I've heard about chimney sweeps," Oliver said. "You can die up a chimney. They light a fire to make you hurry down and you get smothered in the smoke." "Nonsense," said Mr. Gamefield. "I just gets a nice crackling blaze going and the boys come down quicker than anything." "Then I'll frizzle in flames. I'm not going," replied Oliver firmly. Mr. Gamefield clambered back into his donkey cart. "I don't want a rebellious boy. You've spoiled him, Mr. Bumble." With that, he whipped the donkey until it trotted away. Mr. Bumble shook Oliver until his teeth rattled. "Keep your mouth shut or no one will want you," he bellowed. "You've ruined that chance. Don't ruin the next. Look, here it comes now." He pointed to a thin, spidery man coming up to the door. The man had a gloomy air. "I am Mr. Soberry," he introduced himself. "I arrange funerals and I need help." He looked at Oliver closely. "This boy will do, but he's so thin. He's not worth £5. I'll give you £3 for him. Take it or leave it." Mr. Bumble was disgusted, but there was nothing he could do. He was eager to see the last of Oliver. "Glad you're going, Oliver. Behave or else," he threatened. Back at his shop, Mr. Soberry showed Oliver a dusty basement. A dim light filtered in through a grimy pane of glass barred with rusty iron rails. "You'll sleep here, you little bag of bones," he said. Oliver looked around the shadowy room. It was stacked with empty coffins and planks of wood. Drapes of black cloth hung from hooks in the walls, billowing occasionally in the breeze, as though first they breathed and then were lifeless. The only place to sleep, a recess behind the coffins where a thin mattress was thrust, looked like a grave. "And this is Noah, my apprentice," Mr. Soberry went on, taking him to the kitchen. "Noah, give Oliver his supper." Noah looked cross. "What work is he going to do?" he asked sulkily. "He'll be a mute. He's a good-looking boy. Dressed in a top hat and morning clothes, he'll be a credit to the business." "Please, sir, what's a mute?" asked Oliver. "A mute walks next to the coffin at funerals and follows it to the grave. Children's funerals only. Winter's coming on. Always lots of children's funerals this time of year." Noah grinned unpleasantly when Mr. Soberry left them alone. "Here's your food." He handed Oliver the dog's bowl. Oliver was so hungry he wolfed down the stinking scraps of fat that even the dog had left. "Pig," mocked Noah. "Workhouse boy. If your mother hadn't died, she'd be in prison. She must have been bad. Only bad uns give birth in the workhouse." "Don't you dare say anything against my mother," shouted Oliver. "So, what are you going to do about it?" Noah jeered. "This!" Oliver punched Noah hard in his flabby stomach. Noah collapsed like a crumbled balloon. "Ow!" he squealed. "Help! Murder! Mr. Soberry! You've lost your mind, Oliver Twist. You just wait, workhouse boy. You'll be punished for this." "Do what you want," replied Oliver. "I'm not staying here any longer." He raced out of the door and tore down the road, his heart pounding. Don't let them come after me, he prayed. Chapter 4. New Friends. Oliver ran and ran until he came to a signpost. I'll walk to London, he decided. Perhaps I can make a better life for myself there. He walked 10 miles a day. At night he hid in hay barns and woke each morning aching and weak with hunger. The nights were worst because there was nothing around him but darkness and loneliness. At last he reached the city. His sore feet were bleeding and his clothes were worn to shreds. He watched people jostling around market stalls and shops, so busy that no one noticed him. He collapsed on a cold doorstep, too exhausted to beg. Delicious smells floated by from a bakery. Oliver staggered up to the window where shelves groaned with piles of freshly made bread, cakes, buns and pies. He stared at them longingly. A boy about the same age, with sharp eyes and a swaggering walk, strolled over. "Hungry?" he asked. "Very," gasped Oliver. To Oliver's astonishment, the boy pulled a wad of money out of his pocket. "I'll get you something. Wait here." The boy returned with a bag crammed with hot meat pies. "I'm Dodger," said the boy as Oliver gobbled the food. "You?" "Oliver Twist." "Go to bed tonight, Oliver?" "No." "Got any family?" "No one at all." "I know a kind gentleman who'll take you in, who won't want any rent either." "That's generous," exclaimed Oliver. He followed Dodger down a maze of narrow alleys where foul smells filled the air and swarms of ragged urchins played in slimy, oozing gutters. Men and women staggered around, cursing. It looked so dirty, Oliver almost wished he hadn't come, but he had nowhere else to go. Finally, they reached a crumbling house. Dodger led him up a rickety staircase to a dark room. Through a cloud of sizzling fumes, Oliver spied a gnarled old man. He was wearing a grubby blue coat and frying sausages over the fire. Behind him, a group of boys danced and dodged, playing a game. The old man's coat had lots of pockets stuffed with hankies, wallets and pens, and the boys were trying to pull them out without him noticing. "Hey, Fagin!" yelled Dodger. "This is Oliver." "Hello, Oliver." Fagin bared his teeth in a leering grin. "Want to play?" "Yes, sir," said Oliver politely. He waited until Fagin bent over the frying pan, crept up, and delicately drew out a hanky. "You're a natural," chuckled Fagin. "Come near the fire. Have a sausage." Another man stepped in, smearing the back of his dirty hand across his mouth. With him were a girl and a snarling dog with a scratched, torn face. "Ah, Bill Sykes," drawled Fagin. "Delighted to see you. What can I do for you and Nancy? What can I do for you and Nancy?" "Give Bullseye supper," Bill growled, kicking his dog, "and get me a drink." "Get to work, boys," Fagin ordered. One found a bone for the dog, while Dodger gave Nancy a half-full jug of gin. She emptied it into a brimming mug and passed it to Bill. "Bill's scary," Oliver thought, snuggling under his blanket that night. "But I'm lucky to have found new friends." The next morning, waking in the pale half-light of dawn, Oliver saw Fagin open a chest and run his hands over necklaces, sparkling rings, and shiny gold coins. Fagin turned to face Oliver's gaze. He thrust the chest back under the floor, seized a knife, and pressed the blade into Oliver's neck. "What did you see?" he hissed. "Nothing," stammered Oliver, terrified. "Good boy," said Fagin, letting go. "Keep quiet or you'll be sorry. That's all I have to keep me in my old age. Do what you're told, Oliver, if you want to be happy here." A few days later, Fagin told Oliver to go out with Dodger. They stopped by a bookshop which had a stall outside in the street. A richly dressed gentleman had picked up a book from the stall and was reading it as hard as if he was in his study. "See him?" asked Dodger. "Prime target. Stick by me." With one slick move, Dodger pulled a wallet from the gentleman's coat pocket. In that moment, Oliver saw what his new friends were. Thieves.